So, why do you think that Genesis is reliable? What are some of a few reasons that you think that we can believe and trust in this book?
Yeah, so this is something I'm working on slowly. I've been talking about it in random presentations I've given, and I'm trying to build up arguments for it. How we would look at it is through internal and external evidence. In terms of external evidence, Genesis gets a lot of things right about the past that if somebody writing, during the Babylonian exile would probably not have gotten right. So take the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. This is one example of an external evidence. Say during the days of Abraham, there was this cataclysmic event where major cities were destroyed by fire raining down. Well, for years people thought this was a mythic invention because we couldn't find the cities of the plain. Well, Stephen Collins, who's an archaeologist, found this site called Tel El Hammam. It's in the Jordan Valley Rift. It's on the plain there. It's a massive site. It's huge. It's probably the site of Sodom. And during the Middle Bronze Age too, which Kenneth Kitchen says is the time period of Abraham, the city was massively destroyed. It was so hot that basically they have, to quote Collins, he says surfaces melted into glass with some bubbling up like frothy magma, indicating that they were burned in a flash heat event exceeding degrees of 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So there was this massive site during the time period of Abraham, Middle Bronze Age 2. It was just utterly destroyed by excessive amounts of heat and fire. And archaeologists working there estimate there may have been an asteroid that exploded over the area, causing fire to rain down. Okay, if you're a Jew living in the Babylonian exile period, and you're inventing a myth, it's very unlikely you're going to get the correct time frame, you're going to get the correct destruction of a massive city site. It's probably more likely those were accurate oral traditions handed down to the Jews. You can see this with other things. I would argue the land of Eden is an accurate oral tradition that's been handed down to them. The flood account of Mesopotamia being flooded and destroyed is an accurate oral tradition. Table of Nations, I would argue, has some Bronze Age evidence in there, and there's some other indications as well. Internal evidence of this thing can date to an early time period. I'm currently collecting evidence for the time period of Abraham. So you get all these correlations lined up. It's very unlikely that someone inventing myth is going to get a lot of these correlations. Now, it's hard for me to just list them all out here without spending 20 minutes, because Genesis is a book that I would say covers millennia. What you would say makes Genesis 2 reliable is not the same thing you would say makes Genesis 10 reliable, because these are different time periods. It's unlike the book of Matthew, or even the book of Kings, because Kings covers less time than Genesis. So you'd have to go through each chapter and look for interesting pieces of internal evidence, things that align with the external evidence, and just sort of point them out slowly. So that's a project I'm slowly starting to undertake. But Sodom and Gomorrah, I think, is just one example of that.